Finally, a win in Madison. After weeks of frustration and doubt, the Badgers broke through. Gritty, gutsy, and long overdue. I'm Rajeev. He's Justin. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bucky Report, your destination for all things Wisconsin Badgers. Authentic takes.
Oh my God.
Game analysis.
Touchdown Badgers! Ring one up!
And discussion from the fan perspective.
Woo-hoo!
Thanks for joining us and on Wisconsin.
Welcome to the Bucky Report. We are your hosts, Rajeev and Justin, back together on a Sunday evening to talk about all things Wisconsin Badgers. On today's show, the Badgers finally broke through with a gritty win over Washington, a game that reminded everyone what this program is built on: defense, toughness, and pride. We'll break down how it happened, what it means for Luke Fickell's team moving forward, and whether this can be a turning point for his coaching tenure. Later in the show, we'll shift gears to the hardwood, where Greg Gard's Badgers are lighting it up early in the year. Wisconsin basketball is off to a red-hot start, scoring at will and showing real offensive firepower we haven't necessarily seen in a long time. You can find our show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for all your support of the show. Couple of quick things to lead us off here. One, we had a bit of a crazy schedule last week, so sorry about all that. First of all, I forgot to post the actual podcast. So if you're an audio platform listener, after Sunday show,
have 4 shows.
So I didn't post that one, which was a mistake. So that's sorry about that. And then we did our 3 Big Things episode basically right after that posted. So if you're a YouTube watcher, you didn't really see too much. Then of course on Thursday, Justin calls me and says, we got to do a podcast tonight. Of course, after the Chris McIntosh interview, I couldn't do it. So Justin did his, and then what I did, which is the next thing I wanted to talk about, was an audio-only thing. I've been talking about that all year a little bit. I haven't done it, but I started it this week called Rajeev's Corner. It was a 20-minute, because I wanted to get my thoughts out there as well about the Chris McIntosh situation. If you haven't listened to that, it's on the audio platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, not on YouTube. That's going to come out weekly. I just started watching the All 22. I have not gone through it. I'm going to get all through it. And then I'm going to talk about that, some other things, just kind of some deeper thoughts, if you will, but no production, no video, none of that stuff, just talking into a mic. So you watch out for that if you are an audio platform listener. And if you watch on YouTube, go check it out on the podcast version. The other thing I wanted to quickly touch on, if you are watching on YouTube and you look over my left shoulder, you will see a trophy and a medal right there. So for some of you probably know, I've talked about it a little bit on the show. I play sand volleyball on Monday nights. Congratulations to my team, the Sand Gerbils. We are champions. The 2 people there on the left, those are our 2 ringers, our college volleyball ladies, the 2 Ashleys. Then we got Ryan, Lindsay, Meredith, John, and Mike. Congratulations. Fun, hard-fought season. You guys know how competitive I am. We all competitive, but it's fun. Celebrate the personal wins a little bit. Kudos to the Sand Gerbils for winning the volleyball title, baby. I'm pumped.
Nice work.
All right, Justin, let's get into it. Let's start off, as we always do, with our 3 and out Badgers take, Big Ten take, national sports take. I will go first on this one. I think we're going to talk a lot about him, but I'm going to talk about him a little bit here too. Mason Posa and Cooper Catalano will be all conference players. They are absolutely amazing. And I just think that, you would just said before we come on the show, they're probably going to play in the NFL. I think that's true. I think you're looking at one of the most dynamic pairings of inside middle linebackers that we've ever had here. And they are true freshmen. Big Ten take. I think Oregon's going to make the playoffs, but they're going to get stomped. I feel like Dante Moore is just not quite there. Obviously, they struggled against us a little bit for a while. Iowa really should have had them
really beat up too.
I feel like Oregon is like the posers of that playoff group in the Big Ten. And I think maybe had Iowa won that game, they could have potentially climbed up there. Washington, of course, they were going to, but oh well. Then they came into the buzzsaw that was Wisconsin. Lastly, for my national sports take, so the Colts played in the overseas Berlin game this morning, gave me a heart attack in the morning, won in overtime. But why are those games always so ugly? I feel like every time the NFL plays overseas, they're close games, they're drawn out. I don't know if the field is different. It never is clean. It's ugly football, but the Colts got a victory. And the thing I want to talk about, of course, Mr. Jonathan Taylor, 244 rushing yards and 3 more touchdowns. The dude is having an MVP season. Justin, you're 3-0, sir.
Sure. Well, first thing I'll say is, yeah, I'm going to go the opposite direction on this. I really like the energy and attitude that Carter brings to the offense. Okay. There's a certain level of grit associated with him that I think the offense needed. And it's easy to want to play hard for him because of how intense he is. And I think that that's something that this offense is needed for a bit. And we talked about it when he got recruited, that he's the type of attitude that you want from a leadership standpoint in that group. As far as for the Big Ten, I would say the biggest one is going to be what happens with Penn State at this point. Like, Wisconsin is actually ahead of them in the Big Ten standings right now. They have the same record, but we actually have a winning conference. They don't. This could be tough for them. Like, I don't know what the rest of their schedule is, but I'm kind of really enjoying them being terrible. And then finally, nationally, I'll talk about Jonathan Taylor too here. Number one, I would say when you get over in Europe for a game, I think it throws off everyone's kind of like their habit players. They're so used to being a certain way that they're going to do things. Even when they're on the road, they have a similar thing that they follow. It gets very different when you end up internationally traveling. And I think that really throws guys off in terms of their body clocks and everything else. And it's just kind of hard for them to be comfortable and feel right for that. And I think more often than not, the teams that go there are like, let's just make it through this in one piece and let's get back home healthy. So I think teams just kind of grit it out more than anything. I would venture to guess the players hate those games. I realize it's good for the league, but I would guess that they really dislike the fact that it kind of throws off everything that they're used to.
I have no issue with international games. They're just making preseason games. They don't need to be regular season games. We don't get.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if you're going to grow it, do it in the preseason.
Like, we're both fans of European soccer teams. We don't get those regular season games here. We get preseason here. Take preseason there. I don't need this nonsensical, like, super long flight on fields we don't play on, all that crap. All right.
Some no losses in the last 5.
That's right. There you go. All right, Justin, you were not on the reaction show yesterday for this Washington game. I want to lead it off with you. I want you to just give me your opening thoughts, everything you think about this game. Where are you at? What a performance. We won, baby. We won.
I'm going to say that regardless of what McIntosh said, I think that we have 2 middle linebackers that probably saved Luke Fickell's job. I think that you have 2 guys that are legitimately stars at the college level playing in the middle right now, and they're going to raise the level of everyone around them, which is going to help this team in general going forward. Because you have 2 legitimate pieces to lean on now going into next year that can be really high-level players. And I still think we have a lot of other areas that have to be shored up, that we just don't know what you're getting. But I think I'm happy to see it for the players. I think they deserve this. In terms of how I view this in the overall view of things, 1 doesn't mean a lot to me. It's good to see growth and see things moving forward, but I need to see consistency and I need to see things look like they continue to grow. Now, we've seen some growth over the last couple of weeks. They've looked better against Oregon. They look better, obviously, clearly better against Washington. You need to continue to move in that direction. You need to continue. I think Carter's got to be the guy now, because I don't know who else you have. You got to find a way to get him at least competent to be able to make at least some passes. But I feel like you need to keep moving forward now with this and hopefully pick up at least 1 more win. I think there's a couple of games that are in play with both Illinois and Minnesota that if the defense plays like this, you have a chance to win those games. Because I don't think that those 2 teams' defenses are anything incredible. And I think that you could have the most dominant unit on the field in both of those games being the defense if this is how they're going to play. It's dramatic how much their production has jumped with those 2 players in there. Over the last 2 weeks, we've had 8 sacks and I believe 18 tackles for loss.
Wow.
So that is a significant jump. We were averaging 2 sacks a game before those two started playing, or less than that actually, until they got in there, because we've had 8 over the last 2. So it's been substantial how much they've bumped things, and I feel like it's helped the other guys, like the guys like Reiger and them, because you have someone like Posa who's such a whirling dervish as a pass rusher. I think it opens things up for the other guys to get pressure, because Reiger was, I feel like earlier, was the guy that other teams were targeting. And now you can't do that as much because Post is so frenetic out there in the way that he plays and moves so well that you now have to keep him blocked. And he's a problem because he does a really good job of just not letting people get hands on him, which is why he's so productive.
Man, I'm just so happy still about yesterday. I mean, I feel like it's just carrying me through the weekend. Obviously, then my Colts won this morning, which is really carrying me through a great weekend. But I'm just excited for the players. You know, I'm excited for the fans. I'm excited for everyone there are people in that stadium who go every game, who haven't left early, who are there till the end. I'm happy for those guys. I'm happy for anyone who got to go on the field. Like, I just, you know, and some of my family was asking me, like, what does that win really mean to you? I mean, you guys are still bad. I'm like, yeah, we're still bad. We still suck, but I don't care. I want to see victories. I will never, ever root for my team to lose. I will never root for anything other than our success. And it was great. I was jumping up and down like crazy watching the end of that game. Mason Posa getting that 4th down tackle. I was elated. And I just feel like there's just so much relief that comes with a game like that. And just fun, passion, and seeing those guys play was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And we're going to get into, I'm going to ask Justin in a few minutes a little bit about the Chris McIntosh thing and how it kind of got affected. But I just think overall, big picture, it really sets up the next 3 games, right? We know Indiana is going to be absolutely brutal next week. That's a very tough game. I expect us to lose by quite a bit. That's fine.
But Illinois, spread 30 points.
Is it?
I thought somebody said that. Like, I could be wrong on that. I probably am. I would get.
It is 30 and a half points.
30
and a half points. Take the Badgers, baby. Take the Badgers.
Yeah, I would definitely take the Badgers on that, because I do think the defense is legitimately, with those two playing in the middle, is legitimately good.
It is legitimately good, but that team is also absolutely incredible. That being said, like, Illinois, Minnesota can give us legitimate chances for wins. I think finishing this season 5-7 is very, very possible at this point. Like, we can absolutely get 2 more wins, and we better get that last one against Minnesota. But just an unbelievable day, unbelievable performance. I'm just so happy for the guys. I'm happy for Luke Fickell too. We've given Luke Fickell a lot of crap, rightfully so, but I'm happy for him, right? I mean, it was great to see him a little bit joyed and talking in the post-game presser. But Justin, let's get into it a little bit more. Who won the day for you? Like, who are some of your studs? You obviously talked about Post and Catalano, but who won the day for you?
I'm gonna give the guy who probably deserves more props than I don't think anybody is really giving him, because obviously you had Reiger, you had Catalano, you had Mason Posa. It's Ben Barton again. I think he's playing himself in the opportunity to be like a UDFA or like a late round guy. He's been really disruptive this year. And I would have never thought that last year. I was super harsh on him the way we talked about the defensive line last year. He is a guy who has made a massive jump in terms of his ability this year. He's consistently been a guy who's kind of gotten into the backfield and caused problems. Obviously, he blocked the kick yesterday. Like, he has been a guy who has transformed himself in his last year, and he deserves all the credit in the world for the season that he's having.
Yeah, listen, Barton is journeyman, right? He's the journeyman. Like, the guy, all he does is continue working. All he does is, no matter what position he plays, did he come in as an offensive lineman, right? Like, originally,
he kind of was brought in as both, but yeah.
But I mean, like, whatever the coaches ask him to do is what they do, and is what he does, and it's really fascinating for me. Gideon Atuka is a guy that I wanted to quickly talk about. He had, and I had the stats up here, now I've taken them off. He had 19 rushes for 73 yards, 3.8 average per carry. It's not a great per carry average, but let me remind you, the last 2 weeks they played Oregon and Washington, and he had basically 4 yards carry in both of those games. He's been sitting on the bench the entire season. He runs with so much violence and so much passion, and strength. I mean, you saw Darian Dupree out there for a couple snaps. He had 3 carries for 6 yards. Like, He didn't look good at all. Now he's coming off injury. That's fine. And I'm not saying he should look great, but getting Atuka looks like a college running back. He looks like a guy that could play at the next level with the strength that he has. And there, you talk about a guy that's not getting enough credit. I just feel like getting Atuka has been, we haven't had a running game the entire season, but look what he's doing now. Again, credit to the offensive line, right? We've got a starting 5 that have been there now for a minute. We're not shuffling things around. We're playing with those guys. Give them credit. I think they've done a fantastic job. And I really, really appreciate the fact that that unit is growing and getting better every week, Justin. Like they're going to be a strength for us as we finish, the very, very end of the season.
Heinsohn is doing a nice job blocking. The snaps could use a little more zip on them because they look like they're almost hitting them in the butt on the way up. It's like when Carter's got to lean down to catch it every time, I'm getting a little worried about us having a bad snap here, but I get it. He hasn't played the position that long. We're getting by, and he's doing a pretty solid job blocking. I thought they actually blocked pretty darn well in that game, considering we had 0 passing threat the entire time. And our running game was not terrible. I do want to address this because Bo Dragon keeps talking about getting the quarterback killed. Listen, Carter was not given the full game plan. He was supposed to be a package player in this game, and he had to go out there and play it. Like, you can't go out there and have him just slinging it around when he's only got probably like a quarter of your game plan, and it's probably designed specifically for him. He was meant to be a change of pace for the most part, I'm guessing. I don't expect him to be that good in terms of the passing game in this. I do expect him to get better going forward as the reps get there, but I do not expect him to be anything substantial in terms of a passing threat the remainder of the year. But you do need to get enough there for him to at least keep the defenders off of him a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think Carter Smith, had he had a full week of practice, as you said, things would look different. We're going to talk more about that. I think he did fine. Like, I don't think Jeff Grimes did him any favors, but I also think Jeff Grimes trying to protect him and protect the ball and not put him in situations where he was going to turn the ball over, which we're going to talk about that a little bit too. I'm happy with this performance. He played with moxie, right? What else can you ask of a guy that's a true freshman, 4th string running quarterback, coming in there being kind of slung into the fray this past couple of weeks, and he played hard. Now, I expect there to be very nice incremental jumps here for the next when we play Indiana, that's going to be tough. But when we play Indiana, Illinois, and Minnesota, I expect him to look a lot better. And I think he will, because he's going to have that practice time. And now he's the guy the rest of the way. Here's your starting quarterback. I mean, you might see a little bit of Simmons here and there in situations, which is fine, but this is Carter's team now. And I think it's great. A comment here from Bo that I wanted to get your take on, Justin. He says, I love the game and the way they played inspired, but where was that versus Iowa? What's your thoughts on that? Like, yes, Post and Catalan are in there now, and there's different players, but we played a whole different style of, like, with a whole different level of hunger.
I think the energy, like, we've talked about leadership and guys on the field and stuff like that, and it's pretty clear that those two young middle linebackers, their energy and their intensity carries over to everybody else in the defense. Our defense wasn't great against Iowa, but it didn't have that type of spark in the middle with those two guys. And I feel like that made a big difference. I do think that we've talked about it, that them hearing that the coach is going to be back does play to some extent into this. I think it felt like the players wanted to make a point that this was the right decision in their eyes, and that they wanted to prove that, they can win for him. And I guess my perspective on it is why wasn't that the attitude all along? There were games where he could have played this way, Maryland being a prime example, where it just looks like he rolled out on the field and just didn't care. And that's a problem for me. But if this is what it's going to be going forward, so be it. I'm hoping that the young guys hold the other guys accountable in terms of level of play, because they clearly play with their hair on fire the whole time. And if that's the way you're playing and you're making plays, it's much easier to get on another guy who doesn't seem to be bringing that same level of intensity and be like, step it up. And I don't know if we've had really a bunch of guys that are capable of that to this point, because there hasn't been anybody that's really been setting the world afire.
Yeah, the standard of play has to be what we saw yesterday. Like, it's that or above. None of this nonsense about playing like we did against Iowa or Ohio State. Like, that's it. We're done with that. We're growing. Nathan,
I will say, people need to relax a little bit on Carter. there's going to be growing pains here, and there's going to be some boneheaded plays that we're not happy about, where he throws a ball right to a defender or something like that because he's a true freshman quarterback. I did think that that's one of the things that people need to, when we talk about these last few games of the year, they need to be cognizant of, because he basically got out of this game kind of unscathed, where he didn't have anything that was like a massive mistake. And that may happen in one of these other games where he makes a dumb read or a bad throw, or timing is off on something and he throws a pick or he fumbles or, whatever here coming up, because he's a young player and that's going to be part of it. You just have to hope that maybe there's some more positive moments too that come out of this too, with him getting more comfortable.
Listen, I can live with that kind of stuff, right? That's going to happen. It's fine. But you're going to see in the times that he's not making those mistakes, when he's making the reads and making the throws, you can see whether he can be a guy in the future or not. And I feel like I'm excited to see what he can do with a week of reps. Now, albeit against the number 2 team in the country, some would argue the best team in the country. Of course, our schedule has just been brutal, but it is what it is. Nathan Fiorini with some good comments I wanted to bring up here. A huge sleeper, huge contributor to the game was the crowd. Being in the crowd for that game was insane. So much energy. They fed off that. He says the crowd's energy when Carter came in was amazing. He got a lot of love from the students. He did get a lot of love, especially at the very end of the game when he was running out of the tunnel. Like he really got a lot of love there. What was your take on the atmosphere? Like, look, it's still light. We know attendance is down right now, and this team has given the students and the fans absolutely no reason to go to these games. But this might help that last home game coming up.
You mean it wasn't 71,000 like they said the attendance was for the game?
Well, that's tickets sold, man. I mean, I don't think people show up.
I know. I'm just saying, for what was there, yes, I thought the crowd was amazing. Like there was probably, what do you think, 40,000 fans?
I would say it's more. I'd say it's probably 55 or so.
Okay. But yeah, it was lower than what we're used to, but I thought they were very loud for what was there. And I felt like when the team started to have some success, especially defensively, the crowd definitely fed off of that and got behind them for sure.
Jacob saying, give us a quick rundown on that volleyball win. Let me tell you, it was a double elimination tournament. We ended up going to the losers bracket and then won in a 7-game final. It was absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. We rushed the field, Justin, yesterday, which, listen, in the moment, I'm always like, we're going to rush the field at Washington. But I'm like, you know what? I've done that.
This team needed it. I'm okay with it.
I've rushed the field at Camp Randall. It was awesome. Now, it was for the Ohio State game back in 2003, I think is when it was. But it was awesome. And I have no issue with it at all. Look, these fans have been crying out for some success. So you know what? Let them enjoy it. Who cares? Who gives a crap? Like I'm all for people enjoying themselves at these games. Badger fans pay a lot of money to watch the Badgers, and they've been given a lot of crap this year to watch. And that was a gritty defensive performance, which is so much fun. And I'm all about it. I think it's great. Justin, I want to ask you this. Now that, we both separately talked about the Chris McIntosh interview this week, does what happened yesterday make you feel any differently about the McIntosh interview, releasing the news that he's going to be back, how that might have affected things? Where are you at now after watching that game yesterday?
It doesn't really change my perspective. It is what it is at this point. This is what we're going to do. Doesn't matter what I think. I kind of look at it from the perspective of McIntosh. You're lucky that he got one of these or gave you something to hang your hat on, because if they would have gone 2-10, it would have been pretty dismal with you making that decision. This at least gives fans something to look at and point to and say, okay, there's some growth here. And I think you need to continue to see that. You need to see, one of these games against, I would hope for Minnesota, where you take that one home, where you're like, all right, we got another win here, and the defense looks like it could be really, really good next year. And that's one of those things where you take away from it that you want to see things headed in the right direction, because honestly, we haven't seen that under this staff. And I think that's really it. Nobody was crying out for wins or losses necessarily. They were crying out, we're not seeing growth. This team doesn't seem to be getting better. And that's where the problems were, and why people were like, why are you giving him a vote of confidence? And why are you bringing him back? This team doesn't seem to be showing any progress. And it doesn't make sense to bring someone back if you're not headed in the right direction. So this was a step of something that people have been looking for forever now with this team. Like we've wanted this since last year, where you were hoping that things would start getting headed in the right direction. But you're getting to see some of the young guys that, from a recruiting standpoint, we hung our hat on. I mean, these are guys that we were high on.
Very, yeah.
And now you're going to hopefully see the team kind of gel a little bit more, hopefully going forward here and get better. And hopefully Mandel getting his head on straight. For everyone that had a great game, Mandel, man, he had a rough one yesterday.
He literally just stood there after the snap, and I'm like, okay,
and
if
watched
you have
Carter
snap count
get
wrong,
obliterated.
I mean, it's fine when you okay, Ryan. I think Ryan Herring said in the Discord, it was a miscommunication. That's fine. But when your guy runs behind you, not that's at worst a penalty, just stop the guy from obliterating your quarterback, buddy. Like, get up. No, I don't like that at all. A couple quick things here. Again, I do want to send this out. Nathan also got a good comment about the men's hockey team. Yeah, men's hockey team beat Michigan 6-1. They lost one, but they've only lost one game all season. So a lot of credit to the men's hockey program. It's not something that we cover much on the show at all. We will talk about it more when the playoffs happen, but thank you, Nathan, for bringing that up. Getting back to our question here, our topic, Ryan Dexheimer says, in hindsight, do you think Mac's announcement of Fick gave reassurances to the staff to go with an aggressive game plan as opposed to the typical, let's just see how long we can hang in there? So here are my thoughts on this, the whole Chris McIntosh updated thing. I did in my in my audio only thing the other day. I said that obviously I don't, as far as the decision to keep Fickell, we both have been very clear on this. We don't want that. But I do understand why he did what he did. And that's kind of like a bit of a slow trickle of information, like, finding out that like he talked to the students, the athletes, and then, the Ted Kellner vote of confidence kind of came out. You knew it was coming. We all knew it was here. It's not a surprise. He did make a comment, of course, about this whole not, wins and losses, successes and measured by only wins and losses, which was an absolutely asinine comment. He should have never said that. He did attempt to walk that back and cleaned it up with Tausch on a radio show in Madison. If you heard that, he did try to walk that back a little bit and clarify his position. Either way, what I will say is this: I am a little bit surprised, and in a pleasantly surprised about how well this team played right after that announcement. So what I will say is this: if the team plays like that the rest of the year, then fine, great, make the announcement then. Like I figured it could have come at the end of the season, and I don't know why we did all that, but if it helps us play better, whatever. I'm not going to complain about it. It doesn't change the way I think about Luke Fickell at all. It doesn't change that I think he's not worthy of keeping this job next year. But I will say, like, it's his job. The decision's done. We can do nothing else about it, but let's see some growth. And yesterday was one of the first signs we had of any kind of growth in this program. And I appreciate that. And him making that announcement helped, as Ryan said, like, to push things along and to make the staff feel they could be more aggressive, then so be it. Then I'll give credit to Chris McIntosh if that's what happens. But I'm going to need to see it for the rest of the season too. And I'm still on record as saying I still don't agree with this decision to keep Luke Fickell next year. I don't think that's the right call. I think what's going to end up biting us in the butt. But I will support him and I will support the program and be a fan as long as I am.
I think for me, it depends on how we finish this season. It has to be, yesterday has to be the standard going forward. And that means I expect you to then play hard and be competitive with Indiana. If Penn State can do it, then you should be able to be like within a couple of scores on them. I'm not asking you to shut them down. I'm asking you to make it a football game. I don't think that it had anything to do with the aggressiveness of this game plan. I think what had to do with it is the two middle linebackers that showed similarly against Oregon and are just that type of playmakers. They are advanced in terms of their instincts, in terms of their aggression, and that is something that we haven't had in a bit. And with all due respect to Allegro and to Taggart Curtis, these two are significantly more instinctual in terms of how they play. Like, they are a step ahead of where they need to be. And you can see with Posa, he beats blocks. Part of the reason he's so disruptive, he legitimately processes super fast and he puts guys on their heels because they can't get to their spot to take him out of plays because he's there already.
You started a comment here I wanted to bring up. Chad Pater says, do you think Fickell made promises to the older guys, and that's why it took so long for him to play the younger guys? Because that's why the improvement, or at least the effort, has improved.
I don't think so. I think initially you might say that for the first few games, but when you're coaching for your job, I have a hard time believing that you're going to be when you realize your career might be ending, you kind of go for, I'm going to do whatever I can to try and save myself and put the best foot forward. So if he was, then that's a massive failure on his part. But I think that would be awfully risky when you're struggling. It'd be different if the team was 5-3 or something like that, and he was doing. I could see him more likely in that scenario, less so when you're where we are and you're basically playing for your future, your coaching future.
Yeah. All right, Justin, let's play a little Badger buy or sell. Put together some things here for a buy or sell segment of the show. We're going to start with number one here. This game, buy or sell this, Justin, this game can be the start of the Luke Fickell rebuild as far as his reputation with this group and his ability to actually be the long-term coach of this team.
I think that's valid. Indiana, obviously, we both think could be a loss, but I do think that you have a chance in both. I would not say that Wisconsin should be favored in either of the games against Illinois and Minnesota, but I think you definitely have a chance in those games. And if that's the case, I think that you have an opportunity for this to kind of springboard you a little bit in terms of set the standard moving forward of what you need to do. So I don't necessarily think that it's likely, but there is definitely a chance, given the young guys and the way that they're playing, that this energy carries over and it moves forward in a positive way that hopefully gets some confidence in this team and gets them moving forward into some potential more success.
So Will Hanna says, buy, it can be, but we shall see. That's kind of where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been very clear. This has not changed my view of Luke Fickell. He's going to have to do a lot more this season for me to change whether I feel like he should be here, but it's not up to me. It doesn't matter. Right. What I will say is that if something is going to happen with Luke Fickell, it's time to start. You've now got everyone's
this can't be next season where it starts.
Right. We're no longer 18th in the Big Ten conference of any kind of power rankings or whatever. We've got a better Big Ten record than Penn State. Let's go.
And Purdue.
And Purdue. Yeah. It's just we just need to keep going with this. And if we can see a competitive performance against Indiana and get a couple wins at the end of the season, hey, you know me, I'm going to start believing in something and I'm going to want to talk about it, which we're going to. But I'm going to buy this and say that this can be the start of a rebuild. But yikes,
we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see. All right, Justin, buy or sell Jeff Grimes as an effective offensive coordinator moving forward. Are you buying or selling that? Where are you at with Jeff Grimes?
I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be next year. I don't think that he's in a cohesive situation right now. He's do whatever you can with what you've got. Maximize what you think you can get out of Carter and the things that he does well in order to get through the end of the season. I just don't think that there's enough there for him to. It's not like Carter's going to go out and drop 300 yards passing on somebody. He's got work to do in terms of his timing and everything else. He may settle in. I think it will be better this next week passing. But I think if anyone thinks that he's going to suddenly start processing at a high level, you're going to be in for some, it's definitely not going to be the case. He's got work to do. He's got to get reps to feel more comfortable. You can tell he's a step slow on everything. He's thinking more than he's playing right now. And that's got to change a little bit if the passing game is going to take off. And that ultimately is going to hamstring Grimes because he can't call his playbook the way he wants to. So you're going to have to run what you think you can get away with without, causing catastrophic, misplays.
Lot of sells here in the comments as far as Grimes as an effective offensive coordinator going forward. Here's what I will say. I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to disagree with a lot of you. And I know a lot of you are probably like, oh, Jesus, Rajeev. Here's what I think. The dude has not had a starting quarterback all season. He's on his fourth string quarterback. And the offensive line. And
he had a broken offensive line.
And the offensive line issues, they are on him amongst other people. But he's still an offensive line guy. And he runs this wide zone scheme, but the offensive line couldn't do. They've had to change things up. What I would say about Jeff Grimes is this. I would like to see this man have a chance next year with a starting quarterback that is healthy from game 1 to game 12. Now, I'm not saying he's never going to get hurt, but I mean, I think we can all agree that the Badger quarterback luck has been absolutely atrocious. Like we've on our 4th string guy. And our 3rd string guy couldn't do anything. So, I mean, after like a week, it's just been a train wreck at quarterback. So if Jeff Grimes actually had Billy Edwards all year, or hell, even Danny O'Neal all year, I think we would feel a little bit differently about him. That being said, some of the play sequencing, some of the things I'm like, it's a lot of head scratching going on, which I think was why a lot of fans are selling this. And I understand that viewpoint. I just think it's really hard to judge him right now, given the fact that he hasn't had his quarterback. And if we get a transfer, or hell, if Carter Smith starts all next year, fine. That's when you can really judge Jeff Grimes. So I am buying the fact that he can be and will be an effective offensive coordinator moving forward.
Well, I mean, one of the comments that was made during the game last night is they said they asked him, how much of your offense are you actually running? And they said he gave a one-word response, none. And it's like, yeah, I can see that. Like don't really have any of the pieces that you feel like you need to actually run this correctly. And you're just kind of trying to get by and tread water and, keep your head above water right now. So I don't like, I can understand why people are angry with what they're seeing from him. I just don't know. Like, it's not like you're bringing in Lincoln Riley or somebody else or whoever, and they would suddenly just have this offense clicking on all cylinders. We would still suck no matter who you put out there. Like there's not an offensive coordinator in the country that could take this group and suddenly turn them into a solid to good offense. There are too many things that are disjointed and broken that need to be fixed. And I was going to ask you, how many bodies do you think they bring in the portal for the offensive line? It's got to be what, 3, 4?
I mean, look what they did last year for the defensive line. They clearly prioritized that over anything else, and it worked for that matter. Oh, it's going to be the offensive line now. We're about to bring in a load of guys because Jeff Grimes knows he can, if he's going to be the OC next year, which I think he will stay. Like this is going to be like, he's going to say to Luke Fickell, I need linemen if I'm going to be effective. And I think he needs them, and I think he will. So yeah, we're going to bring probably 4.
That was one of the thoughts that I had on this. Was pretty simple. I'm like, in order to fix this, you can get this, because regardless of how you feel about the young guys and how they're performing, the offensive line needs to be legitimately good next year, or at least above average. And I don't think these guys are far enough along that's a lock. And I also don't think you have the depth behind them. Like, you can't be relying on redshirt freshmen to be your backups at every position. And that's basically what they'd be looking at next year. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to look at it from the perspective of, we need 4 guys that are competing potentially for starting jobs.
Yeah, because then you supplement them with the freshmen. And obviously we've got a whole new crop of those guys in like Hardy Watts and that whole class that can hopefully come in and do that next year. Bo Dragon says you can scheme plays, quick hits for Vinny. It's not brain surgery to run a wide receiver screen.
I think that really depends on how the defense is playing your receivers. If you have guys playing up, you don't run wide receiver screens into press coverage, because that's how you suddenly have a corner that jumps that route and gets a pick 6.
I do hear the point, and I agree with the point that that we could be doing more offensively. Like, Jeff Grimes needs to be doing more than he is. I'm not a Jeff Grimes apologist. I'm just saying, I feel like he can still be an effective. I know a lot of people are just out on him, which is fine. I think Zach Bartz even is out on him as well. Like, I get it. I just feel like, let's give the guy a chance. Let's see what he can do next year when things are hopefully very, very different from an offensive line perspective, from a quarterback perspective, and then let's make the judgment. Let's flip it to the other one, buy or sell Mike Tressel as a effective defensive coordinator next season. You have talked a lot about Tressel over the years and how you've been kind of out on him, out on him. Where are you at right now?
If this is what we're getting this last 2 games going forward, I'm totally fine with him. Okay. But this needs to be the standard. Like, I need to see the disruption. And it's interesting to see how much better it looks when you have 2 guys that are clearly playing at a high level in Posa and Catalano. If this is what he's getting, we're fine. it can't go back to where we were. We cannot be a defense that's getting 2 sacks a game and like 4 tackles for loss. And it's like, we can't put pressure on an offense at all. We're not playing like going forward. We're not playing to have a defense that is capable of being average. You have to be building towards a defense that can be a dominant unit, because if the offense can at least be solid to good, then you have a team that is potentially pushing for the playoff. And so that's the standard of what we're ahead of where we are offensively, obviously on the defense, but that's where you need to be. And there are pieces like, I feel like there's a lot of quality bodies that are probably going to be ready to play next year that probably aren't quite there this year. Clayton's a big one of them. Cheeks is obviously starting to come on too. He played really well in that game yesterday. You have guys like, obviously Fearbury is going to be a guy who's going to get more reps. You have some of the bigger bodies and like Williams playing the defensive line. You have who's our guy in the middle that came in last year? Dylan Johnson. So you have some bodies here that are really, I feel like, give you some opportunities next year to continue this. And you need to do that, because I feel like that's something then you can lean on as Wisconsin and say, there's not this massive amount of pressure on the offense. We can work through the growing pains to get that better if we can have the defense play at a high level. And I think that that's a possibility for next year.
Yeah, there's been a little mixed reaction in the chat. I'm buying on this as well. Like, I think Tressel's earned it at this point. We knew their defense had to get better, and the defense did get better this season. I mean, the run defense all year has been very impressive, and we've been talking about the defense has been one of the only bright spots the entire season. Now you couple that with adding in the freshmen and letting those guys play. And you got to believe that, as you just mentioned, there's other freshmen who aren't ready yet, who are next year. Like we've been praising the 24 and 25 class for a long time. So let's see those guys. And we're beginning to see that a little bit, right? You couple that next year with what happens. I mean, my view is very simple. If Luke Fickell is going to stay, which he is, then I'm fine with his coordinator staying. Where the changes have to be made are some position coaches. I think that's very clear, which we're going to talk about as obviously as the weeks go on. But I think I'm fine with the coordinator staying. Yeah, and
I'll say is he's not aggressive enough. I think and this is where I'm saying, well, we need to have this continue. Like out of perspective on this, if what we've gotten the last 2 games against 2 really quality teams, which is 4 sacks and 9 tackles for loss.
And 15 points allowed per game against Oregon and Washington, folks.
Yeah. If that's the case and that's what we're getting going forward, this team's going to end up finishing like top 35 or top 30 in terms of total defense. And with this schedule, that's miraculous for them to finish that high. The sack number will have almost doubled from last year if they can get 4 sacks in each of these last 3 games, which I think is in play. I think you have enough pass rushers on this defense for that to be a possibility, where you average 3 to 4 sacks every one of those games. You have a chance to really hit your stride on defense to end this season. And if that's the case, then hopefully that gives you some flexibility on offense where you're in good situations. You potentially can just grind on teams and be super physical and try to muck up the game and keep these games close.
Where there was a comment that yes, Will Hanna says the D got better because the players are so much better. It's not Tressel. Look, I think that at the end of the day, we're going to have these players next year. So if Tressel's defense is effective with these players, then so be it. I don't care. I want the defense to be effective. And when you allow 15 points a game, I know some other comment earlier talked about how most of the games have been bad, except the fact that we had 2 weather games. I don't care. Like you still Oregon, and that still is an offense. Like Iowa held them to 18 points. We have the 21. Well, Iowa's a great defense. We know that. Like I just think that at some point this defense is performing, and these are 2 high-powered offenses. We're going to see another high-powered offense next week, a really high-powered offense. And I don't think we're not going to stop them, but I think we are going to at least hopefully keep them in check. All right, 2 more quick ones here, Justin. Buy or sell. Carter Smith can throw the ball and will show it with a week of full reps.
I saw that. I don't think it's going to be great. I think it'll be better than it was. Again, when I brought it up, I think our last game, I said if he started, I expected him to hopefully go for like 120 yards or 130 yards. I think that's what you're hoping for in this next game. Like you want to find it. I'm hoping that he will settle down and get more comfortable in the timing where he doesn't look so rushed. And if that's the case, then you can maybe find some things. But I do not expect it to be anything special going forward. I just want it to be more competent and coherent than what it was in week 1. Because I think if he can give you anything in the passing game, low key in that game, we actually moved the ball. It wasn't terrible. I know the yardage wasn't there really, but we had some drives where we moved the ball like 30 yards or whatever at times. And it's for what we had offensively, it was kind of shocking that we were able to pick up first downs, just being able to grind on teams or grind on Washington. I think you're going to have some ability to do a little bit of that against Indiana. I don't know how much, but hopefully you can find some just dump off passes and stuff like that across the middle where maybe somebody settles in. He had tunnel vision in that game. Like his timing was way off, and he definitely was like, you could tell he's a little deer in headlights. I'm hoping that a week of him being the guy in practice and being able to review some of the things and show him, hey, you need to take a beat. You need to be ready for this. He'll get better. Because this is a different ballgame. I know people want to go back to his high school film. Some of those throws in high school, it's so these guys are just sitting back there waiting for their guy to get open and then throw. There's not always a ton of anticipatory throws that you're making. And there's not necessarily a bunch of stuff you're reading on defense where you're like, this guy truly understands what he's doing. He's just throwing the ball to a guy that he plays with every day that he thinks is going to get open.
You're also seeing athletes that you've never seen before on the other side of the ball.
Absolutely.
That's a massive issue, right?
Who are mentally far and away better than the guys.
I mean, every time you step up a level, it happens in high college, and of course in the NFL, it's a whole different world of greatness. Listen. So I'm selling this as well. I'm selling that he's going to look great, but I'm buying the fact that he's going to be improved. And it sucks for him that his next game is going to be Indiana on the road. That is brutal. I mean, Indiana arguably is the number 1 team in the country, so it's like. That's very difficult, but it's okay. I don't expect him to have a great game. I expect him to get better and make a few reads and throws. If he turns the ball over, fine. Like I want him to improve. I want play calling to be there for him. I want him to get reps. I just want to see something because it's the following 2 weeks where hopefully we can really see Carter Smith. All right, last one before we move on. Buy or sell, Justin. You will end up being happy with how the 2026 class ends up.
The recruiting class?
Yeah.
Happy's a loaded word, my friend. I think I could be okay with it, but I don't know if I would say happy. There's a lot of players that are kind of hemming and hawing that I'm a little freaked out about this class.
And I guess that's the reason I'm asking this. Do you feel like we have a little bit now that Luke Fickell, everyone knows he's staying, like, can that help the recruiting class?
I don't think them keeping him is as much of a help as actually showing that what he's doing is working is more important. If you can win 2 of these last 3 games, I think it absolutely helps those guys understand that you're making progress and that the coaching is working. And that makes them more likely to stay because now you're seeing some positivity within the program. When everything just seems like it's going the wrong direction for Wisconsin football, it's really hard to get those guys excited about it. And I just think that there's a better chance that you have guys that are kind of buying into, okay, I can see this. Maybe I can help take them up a notch or 2 with my ability. To me, there's guys that they have to get. Pettit is the biggest one to me. That is a receiver that you do not get at Wisconsin. You have got to find a way to get that guy in this class.
Yeah, it's very concerning to me. I'm going to sell because I don't think I'm going to be satisfied with this class at all. Like this class is currently ranked 63rd. It's low in numbers. It's certainly low in high talent. We just lost Aiden Reeder to Michigan. I mean,
that was a big loss.
That was a really big loss.
He's a really nice player.
Aiden Reeder has a lot. I mean, it's sad to say next to Cincinnati, a lot of talent there. And there's guys that I'm excited about. Certainly Pettit, but technically Latimer's still in this class. I don't think that's going to stay. Do you think Latimer has any chance of staying?
I don't know. Like, I think that if you look at it from the perspective of if he believes in Fickell and things do start moving, I think you can play the game where you're like, he has a chance to be, he's the only back in the class for right now. And you have a chance to look at it and say, all right, you have a guy who you think you can lean on. him as a 1-2 punch with Atuka next year, if you have two backs that are just absolute thumpers, they're going to beat up on some teams if those are the type of backs that they're going to throw at people. I do think that he's a guy who can play a little bit as a freshman. So I don't think he's getting that opportunity. I mean, we just talked about it, Ohio State, where people are talking about him potentially going. They have two true freshmen that are playing there this year in Bo Jackson and West.
Yeah, he's not getting ahead. He's not getting ahead of
the kid that Wisconsin was going after.
Bo Jackson's going to be playing. He's going to be the
so is Isaiah West. Isaiah West has played well for them.
Yeah, agreed. I'm hoping guys like Pettit, Latimer, Hopkins, those are some of the big names in the class. Like, obviously, I like Ryan Hopkins. I think we're going to need Ryan Hopkins here, and it would be great to have him in this class. He does play at one of the top football programs in the country, and now that he's playing at Mater Dei, he's getting other looks, obviously, and I'm sure it's going to be difficult, but people that I've talked to seem to feel like he is pretty solid for Wisconsin, but we shall see. But I am a little bit concerned about it. Justin, any other last words on football before we quickly touch on basketball to end the show? Anything else you want to say about the game or anything you want to get off your chest?
I think in general, I think if this was just really nice for fans to finally see some positivity come of this, regardless of where we go in the future. I think we all just really needed to see something positive happen. I've been waiting for this forever. It's really nice to have some young players that you believe in to want to watch play, because even though the defense wasn't a train wreck, there's nobody that you really watched and you're like, I love watching this guy play. Like there was nobody that was just kind of a freak, kind of advanced player like what we're seeing from Catalano and Posa. And that makes it hard, man, when you just don't have players that you're like really bought into and stuff. And that's what's going to happen next year. Everybody's going to love watching those two play. And it's going to be the goal, just like it was with Chanel and Sanborn. We loved watching those two guys play, make plays constantly. And now you have two guys again who you have at least for 2 more years that you're going to be able to really pay attention to and enjoy them do things on the field. And the sky's the limit for both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see the Badgers win. I know everyone was really excited about it. Yeah, our record still sucks. And I saw someone made a comment earlier about, 5-7. You seem to be happy about that. I would be ecstatic with 5-7 at this point, considering 2-10 was staring us in the face a few weeks ago. It's funny, Bo Dragon, I put a comment up there about the team vest. Luke Fickell was asked about the team vest in the post-game press conference.
He had it on underneath his hoodie.
And it was hilarious. He's like, oh, well, it was technically on underneath this salute to service sweatshirt. I don't think he's going to wear it again. He was asked about it. And the fact that he's like, maybe that shouldn't wear it anymore. I don't think we see that team vest again, which I know will make a lot of people happy because they hated that team vest.
I think that's something you can get away with when the team's playing well. It's something that people are going to absolutely crucify you for when it's not, because that acronyms and all the extra crap only matters when things are going well. When it seems like the system is broken, it's like your acronym's not working. We don't care.
That is well said. I mean, it's very, very true, man. It's just one of those things that's got to, we'll see. All right, let's quickly move on to end the show here. Our last 10 minutes, talk about basketball a bit. Greg Gard's had a pretty hot start to the season. 2 games under our belts. We beat Campbell in Northern Illinois, scored 96.5 points on average between those 2 games, which is pretty solid. And we haven't even played that great offensively yet.
Let's be honest. I'm annoyed with the way that Northern Illinois game ended, because they were on pace to be like 120 points in that game, and they just kind of backed off of it and slowed down.
I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. I don't really care. First of all, I had the under in that game, so I was perfect. I was like, I wasn't happy that they didn't even hit the under, but I did have that, which was a bad bet on my part. That was stupid. Nonetheless, though, Justin, I think it's been a nice start overall. Let's just talk about who's impressed you the most thus far in those first 2 games.
Well, I mean, we know who the main guy is. It's clearly Blackwell's great. I thought Boyd was a little bit better in the second game. He seems to be settling in a little bit more, finding his way. He's finishing at the rim a little bit better, which is a big deal, because I was going to be concerned with how this season was going to go if he was going to struggle to consistently convert at the rim. It's great that he gets to the line, but I do worry about, if we really need a bucket at a point, him not being able to finish. Other than that, I really think some of the guys look great in terms of their all-around game. Rapp and and Rhodey, to me in particular, are the two that I look at that I'm like, these two guys are just plus players. Like, they do little things all over the court that are just good things for this team, where they don't require a ton of, time with the ball. They're good passers. They rebound pretty well. Rhodey's a better defender, but I think Rapp tries. I think offensively as a post player, I actually like Rapp in the post better than I like Winter, because I think he does a better job sealing his man and putting himself into a good spot to finish, which is something I think that Winter struggles with still a little bit. Those two have been really good, and I think that they kind of help everything else. Bielauskas, I think that he's your backup big, and I really liked. I said I liked at times. I feel like he's more advanced defensively than Garlock. If he can provide a little bit of scoring touch off the bench, I think that's really big for this team. And I do think he's a solid shooter.
I kind of trust Garlock a bit more defensively at the 5, though.
I think he offers more upside. I think positionally, Bielauskas, to me, seems to understand the principles a little bit better at this point.
Yeah.
So it's more of an athleticism versus like technique discussion.
So what I would say so far is obviously Blackwell's doing his thing. Winter, I think he needs to continue to grow here and grow into this season and grow with gel with these players. He's obviously a phenomenal talent who I think is and did take a step, but we need to see a bit more from him. And I think it's just finding the right position with these guys. Like, he is more of a 4, and I think if Garlock is in there playing 5, or even Bielauskas, or like Rapp even potentially, like I want him to play more of the 4. I don't really need him down there because we don't like his offensive game on the block. And defensively, he's a bit of an issue down there. So the more 4 he plays, the better, which I think hopefully the rotation moves towards that. But I've been super impressed with the newcomers. Nick Boyd obviously had a massive night against Northern Illinois. I think he shoots a little too much, but I will say, and I said this the other day on our reaction show for basketball, like it's going to come with the territory, right? Like, you're going to have to deal with that. If you want a free-flowing offensive team like we have at this point, you're going to have some shots that you don't love. He got a couple heat checks, too many heat checks for my liking, but the guy can score. And it's so nice now to have, when you have Blackwell and Winter out there, now you've got Boyd. If Blackwell's having a cold night, you can give the ball to Nick Boyd and say, dude, just go to the rim. He's going to use his left hand, hint, always. But he's going to get to the rim 9 times out of 10 with a decent shot. He's going to be able to get a look. And in these tight games we're going to have in the conference, I'm happy that we have an aggressive, downhill attacking player that is going to get to the rim and is going to make something happen. Then you couple that with the great passing we've got from Andrew Rhodey and Austin Rapp. Like, this team can be exceptional offensively. Exceptional.
They work angles very well. It's a smart team.
For sure. And they're not even that cohesive yet. Somebody made a comment earlier, I've lost it, about the cohesion. Like, that's going to come. Like, the longer these guys play together, and they've got a nice set of warm-up games before the big one in Salt Lake City against BYU, where I will be Kevin Brown, who's in the chat. He and I are both going to that game together. It's going to be awesome. And that is going to be the first true test. Then you've got Providence, you've got Florida, who has a guy, by the way, that is 7'9". Holy shit. Who wants to guard that dude? Like, we are going to get better. We're going to grow. But so offensively, I'm happy at that. And I think it's going to get better. Defensively, I will say this. I know that defensively we've given up a lot of points and there's a lot of issues on that, and I get it. I'm kind of okay with what I'm seeing defensively. I think it's a little bit better. I think Nick Boyd is a bit better of an on-ball defender. And listen, Ryan Herrings breaks this down way better than I can, for sure. He's a basketball coach. He knows a lot about this. I just feel like I've been okay as far as the kind of shots that we've been giving up. It's not great, but with such a good offense that we have, it's okay. I think the defense is better than it was last year with the athletes that we have on there right now. Just my take. Steven Crowell was a good positional defender, but overall, we lost something there. But overall, I think there's a better. This team's
they're better on the perimeter.
I'm okay with it.
I think they're better on the perimeter. Yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. I think this team is going to grow a lot. I was going to ask you about Hayden Jones and what you thought about what you've seen from him, because I do think he's a little rough right now, but I do feel like you need to continue to play him the way you're doing this, because by the end of the season, he's going to grow so much as a player in terms of what you get. And you can't beat having a backup 6'6" point guard who can come out there and do some things, where just his brute size adds so much when you get to March, being able to put him out there as a matchup problem, where maybe he gets on a 6'3" guy and just makes him uncomfortable when he comes in off the bench every here and there.
Yeah, Hayden Jones is the 10th guy, right? Like he's not, I don't know how many minutes he's going to get, because the guards that are coming off the bench are Janicki and Carrington. And I think I really like Carrington. I think Carrington needs to play more. I like the poise that he brings. He's very calm, but he just has like he plays very heady. He just understands the game. I really like him. But with those two guys being your main guards off the bench, I don't know how much we're going to see of Hayden Jones, but I agree he needs to play more. I think he's probably going to get 6 to 8 minutes a game at best.
I think that's probably where you're going to see.
Which is fine. And these early games, right, where we play like SI, UE, and whoever else is on our schedule coming up soon, like we need to make sure that he gets minutes in those games. Ball State, SI, UE, and then we play BYU. So, like, yeah, but I don't think he's going to play a lot, because really, when does Greg Gard have a 10-man rotation? It's not going to be 10-man, right? Garlock and Bieliauskas are going to play. Carrington and Janicki are going to play. I don't think you're going to have a 10th guy that gets over, I always call it 8 minutes a game as like being in the rotation. I don't
know if I would say that I think that Gard is going to do a lot of matchup type things this season with this team. I think there's going to be teams that you're better off playing Carrington and Janicki. Well, Janicki's going to play no matter what, but Carrington is going to be one of those. And I think there's going to be sometimes Hayden Jones, who you do need another ball handler. Obviously, Blackwell is going to be the guy most often if you play a team you really have to. But I do think that's part of the reason why you're seeing Hayden Jones is you're hopeful that he can at least become a credible ball handler to be that guy that comes up and, if you need somebody later in the season that can break a press or whatever. And I don't know how many guys that we have that we feel great about that with. Rhodey's probably another one that I could see them going to if they had to. He's got a little bit of that.
He can handle the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we're going to learn a lot about this team very soon. Obviously, playing against the likes of BYU and Providence and Florida and Marquette. Like there's a lot of things, but I think overall, Justin, it's a nice start to the season. We look pretty good. We're scoring a shit ton of points, which is great to see. There's not a lot to really complain about. And we play again, I believe on Tuesday, we play Ball State. I think it's Tuesday. So we'll obviously talk about that next week. Justin, final thoughts before we close today's show.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have a weekend where you're happy with things. We're seeing some positivity in terms of certain Badger program. Hastings is doing a great job with the men's hockey team. I love seeing that team kind of get back to the prestige that it would have had, and they have a chance to be a problem for teams. I think that they could be a dark horse Big Ten team here, because when I watch them, my biggest takeaway was this is a team that is really good defensively. And if they continue to take care of the puck and just put the clamps on teams, they're going to really frustrate some teams and get themselves some opportunity. And I think that that's how Hastings likes to play. So I'm looking forward to that and just learning more about hockey in general. Women's volleyball is playing pretty well. I think they're a year away, but I do think that team is really kind of ahead of the curve of where you'd expect right now. And hopefully we continue to see some good quality from all our teams going forward, because right now I think we all could use it. I think we're frustrated and tired of being bad at stuff. So
For sure. And, again, just kudos to the football team, everything they did this week and all the players that fought. There were players that probably quit, didn't really want to play anymore, and they're not really playing anymore. And the players that have given it their all and are fighting in practice and fighting and standing up for what they want to do, like I just credit to them. Really, really great performance. And I'm so happy that those guys got that. We'll be back midweek to break down the Indiana game. Also check out Rajeev's Corner audio only. Just talking into the microphone for a little bit. I'll break down some of the All-22 stuff, talk about the press conference that Phil Fickell has tomorrow, and anything else that comes up into my mind. And we'll be back again next Sunday night, of course, to talk about hopefully a surprising victory over the Indiana Hoosiers. I don't know. We'll see. We'll be back on Sunday again.
Thanks for joining. Saving up success, so we should have enough in the tank for it.
Right. Thanks again for joining us, as always, on Wisconsin.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Bucky Report or The Bucky Report podcast from wherever you get your content. Until next time, on Wisconsin.